Following the death of Sir Bobby Robson, hundreds of football fans left shirts as tributes outside Newcastle St James's Park. Well, Sir Bobby's son Paul has just returned from a trip to Liberia where those shirts were distributed. The football strips were given to charities who help former soldiers and also children rescued from the country's streets.
Thanks, Charlotte. Let's take a look now at some of the morning's front pages, and we begin with the Financial Times. BP there again. It's their weight before and after pregnancy. With me now in the studio, Mary Newburn. Mary's Head of Research and Information at the National Childbirth Trust. Is this anything we didn't know before, Mary?
Well, I think we have known some of this stuff before, but it hasn't stopped an enormous rise in obesity across the country. So it is a big public health problem. And I think people find it very difficult to control their weight, and the challenge is to find ways we can help people.
And does pregnancy put more pressure on people, or does it give them an excuse?
Well, it's a great opportunity for people to reassess their lifestyle and improve the diet that they eat and to perhaps take more exercise. But it is a time when women's health is at risk and babies are at risk. So for people who are overweight, seriously overweight, if they can lose weight beforehand, that's a good thing.
Charlotte, how are you finding, friends of yours who may be pregnant or people you would know around your age who are in that situation? Do you think they're more aware of this? Is it a big worry for them or not?
I think they are aware of it, but from the friends I have, I think the biggest concern for them is, of course, how they shift the weight at the end of the pregnancy. But I guess, there's an awful lot of pressures, a lot of changes that are happening to women throughout their pregnancy. So it's a tough time, I think, isn't it, for them to be thinking as well, oh, actually, I shouldn't be overeating. Is there some sense that, they shouldn't have to worry about that extra stress as well?
Well, I think there always was that sort of feeling it's a bit of an excuse when you're pregnant, and it's very helpful if you can just sort of watch the weight during that time, but at the same time it's very important not to worry too much, because when people worry and feel anxious, then particularly if they're that way inclined, they're more likely to eat more because they feel a bit down. And so the message really is about balance and generally improving the kind of diet that you eat, not crash dieting, and taking more exercise.
But Mary, you're saying for expectant mothers not to worry, but you guys as professionals are obviously worrying.
At a population level, there is real concern, and not least because if mothers are bigger, then their children are more likely to be bigger as well. And so if you can help people when the family's just starting out, it'll help the mum and it'll help the rest of the family, including all the children how many children she has.
Let me ask you, when women are pregnant and they have, what do they have? What's that they get? They get a fad for something, or what? A craving, the very word, a craving. Is that an old wives' tale, or does that exist? Is that an excuse?
Well, I think these days when people have a really good diet, you don't hear about women sort of craving coal like you used to hear.
Yes, but if they're craving hamburger and chips or milkshakes or something, I mean, they're making that up in their head, are they? They're imagining that.
I think women do have a sense, that they long for certain things, and there's certain things they really don't fancy at all. Yes, you have to kind of think about it. If you long for chocolate, then...
Okay. So as part of the whole expectancy process now, it is you've got to watch your weight. Not just after, as Charlotte was saying, but it is before, and make it easier for yourself.
That's right. Real focus on healthy eating.
Okay.
What's the biggest danger, though? I mean, is there a bigger danger from people eating too much, or perhaps going the other way and not eating enough? Because surely, I suppose, the most important thing is that the baby gets the nutrients, isn't it?
Well, the balance is always the important thing. Crash dieting isn't helpful ever. So it's eating little and often, and trying to find food that is healthy, that you really enjoy. I think there needs to be more focus on learning to take real pleasure in food, but take pleasure in food that's good for you.
Okay. Mary, thanks very much indeed, and good luck with your work. Thank you very much indeed. Mary Newburn is from the National Childbirth Trust, and they have carried out a lot of research into pregnant women and weight. Sport coming next with Sarah Jane. What have you got?
Well, coming up, Diego Maradona goes head-to-head with his bosses in Argentina. Also, the Brits who have been flying...
Sky News.
Look, so that's the situation. Catalonia to vote on that. You've been having your say today, and John Gaunt, who's here with the newspapers, I know you've got views in this bullfighting situation.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the bullfight. I took my 16-year-old daughter. She really enjoyed it. I think it's a cultural tradition that we have no right to interfere in. And, you know, people will no doubt have been inundating you with emails going against it, but it's Spanish culture. The Catalonians have a right to vote on it, which they're doing today, which is all well and good. But I wonder how many people have actually been. It's a bit like fox hunting in this country. People get on the high horse about fox hunting, but probably have never lived in the country, don't understand the tradition, don't understand the culture.
I've been in Portugal, where it's slightly different. They don't kill the bull in front of you, but throughout all the years I've been going to Portugal, none of my children, none of them, and my eldest is 21
wanted
now,
to go.
would even entertain the idea. So there's a different sort of change in attitude.
Well,
What do you find?
my daughter wanted to go, so I took her. Why not?
Yeah, people getting in touch saying, Michelle Jankalo, for example, in South Africa, saying this barbaric sport has to end. Senseless brutality for bulls. She says, I can't believe in this modern era we have to witness such cruelty. But Den does say bullfighting's obviously cruel, but it's not for Brits to tell another country how to behave. Just boycott if you go there and you don't want to see it.
OK, well, look, I want to move on, John, now to what you're doing in the newspapers.
Sure.
And this is to do with John Venables and paedophile contacts that he has.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he's all over the papers. Different people have got different stories on it. The Sun's got a fantastic exclusive. They've got inside the rented house of a guy called Leslie Blanchard. Now, Blanchard was the man who was communicating with Venables when Venables was allowed to pose as a mother who was trying to sell her daughter. Blanchard basically had served 8 months in prison on remand, so he's not gone to prison for these charges. And what's happened is he's been chased out of his house by locals. He's rented out the house now to somebody else, a guy called Nathan and his family. He's looked underneath the cupboards in the kitchen and found a load of CDs, and in another cupboard found a little girl's pink underwear. They've also found a replica gun in the garage. And you know, it just brings up the whole thing about this whole scenario. One, why wasn't Venables correctly monitored in the first place? Why did he have free access to the computer in the way he did? What about Blanchard? What about the other people out there who are behaving in this manner? And why didn't the coppers find all this before Blanchard went to court? He's now a free man, and I don't condone the vigilantes who are chucking things at his Porsche, etc., etc. However, it would look like the public are being let down again.
Let down again, a 7-year-old girl who starved to death, and this story's in the Daily Mail.
Oh, this story breaks your heart, doesn't it? This is little Kyra in Birmingham. The good thing about this government, I'll give them their due, they're now having full and proper and frank reports written on when these dreadful incidents happen. Because, you know, normally they say, oh, it'll never happen again. And as sure as eggs is eggs, it happens again. So Michael Gove's changed that. But this girl was taken out of the school education system and educated at home. Clearly we need much better regulation of kids who are at home, much more supervision, check that they're OK. And also, it says here, social workers were more worried about their careers than her life. And the most distressing thing about this is the head of social services hasn't said what's happened to the people who are responsible for this girl's death. Clearly, it's the mum and the stepfather fundamentally who are responsible, but why didn't the social workers intervene?
OK, 2 years till the opening of the Olympic Games in London. What do you think?
Well, it's a great story, this, in the Times. It's goosebumps as bumps as Olympic hints at glory to come. It's Simon Barnes, and he said, if you want cynicism, don't read this. He's very much celebrating the fact that the Olympics are coming. He's got a much more optimistic view of the Olympics than I have. Don't forget, these Olympics were meant to cost $3 billion. They're going to cost $9.3 billion now. There's a big fear that may rise again. What I would say is, we've got them now. If we'd planned for them now, you know, in the present economic situation, we'd have never bid for the Olympics. However, we're committed, but this budget can't go up. This budget must not go a penny over the 9.3 billion, and there must be tickets for ordinary people to benefit from these Olympics.
But why would you necessarily want to go when television's so good, when HD's so good, when it's such an inconvenience? Why would you actually want to be there?
So you never go to Old Trafford then?
That's different.
No, it isn't different.
No, it is
it's
completely
exactly
different.
The same.
That is
Isn't it?
completely
You've got to get
different.
the atmosphere.
It's
Yeah,
the
there's nothing
atmosphere.
like
I go
being
there to worship. That's like religion to me.
That's like religion.
Yes.
You come on. People want to go there, but what I mean is,
are you going to go there?
People in the East End.
Are you
You know, the irony of this is people like me and people like you, or probably in Charlotte, will probably get a free ticket. What I'm actually suggesting is that the British public and the people in the East End should get tickets. The people who've been inconvenienced should get tickets, Mr. Holmes. You'll be there. All this, oh, I'll watch it on telly.
No.
You know, opening ceremony. Who'll be there with a vol-au-vent in his hands?
No.
Holmes.
No. I am more likely to be put off by queues and crowds and all sorts of things. Would you go, Charlotte?
I would go, actually.
You'd have
yeah.
nothing against. You'd have nothing against going.
Wouldn't you like to be there for the 100 metres? It's one of the big sporting moments, isn't it?
Well, when I was a youngster, I was very inspired by British heroes at the Olympics. But I think that's the whole thing. You've got to look at the European Games now. Whatever, we've got to have those heroes that people want to follow.
And we need a bit of a morale boost. I mean, it's been a pretty bad 18 months, isn't it?
I want your view. We've got the Home Secretary coming on in about an hour's time.
About pubs.
What's your views on pubs?
Well, look, let's not overreact about it.